Okay, let's bring in the CEO of OMATEK Ventures, Mrs. Florence Serukia. She joins us on the program to take a look at renewable energy industry in the country. Good morning, madam.
Good morning.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
On the program. A lot has been said about the need for Nigeria to ensure that it gets other sources of energy supply in the country, going by the epileptic power supply that we've had over the years. Can you tell us what the government seems to have done when it comes to renewable energy, which is one area that many have asked the government to look into for now?
Well, from the recent announcements we had, that some companies were listed to do power plants, I think is a welcoming development that they finally listened to us on solar. If you recall, we launched the stock exchange where Channel was there and where we have the solar and the LED bulbs. And this was when we were telling the Honorable Minister then, Professor Nebo, that the only way to go is to do the solar energy and reduce the consumption first, because that's actually a problem. This problem you're seeing is more of a consumption problem. It's not a distribution problem. We consume a lot of energy. And we came up with a solution then that the Professor Nebo, the minister, commissioned. And once we can attempt to drop the consumption drastically, rather than building power plants, you know, if we go back to the Energy Commission law, which the United Nations has said should, in the next 5 years, everybody should cut consumption by 50%. You'll be dazed how significant energy can be conserved for others to use. If a whole ministry or a Shell, Mobil reduce consumption by 50 to 70%, can you imagine that energy being available for others to use? Okay. And we said to them, until that is achieved, then solar will become very, affordable. Because if you were to buy solar for 100 kVA, then you'll be buying solar for 25 or 20 kVA. So which means your pocket can afford it. Okay. And that was the solution we proposed, we pioneered, and we started doing. We've done a lot. And I thank God now that the government had absorbed this. So if you now look at the approach they are using, they are building solar farms with metering so that the general public can have them. But we still need more. Okay.
Okay, we would actually talk more about this when we come back from the break. But let me ask you one question. When you talk about consumption level of Nigerians, is it that we're taking more than we can allow into our systems, or we just need to drop the level of consumption?
Okay, for example, most of our fluorescents, they are 42 watts fluorescents. The one that is 2x2 has 4 bulbs in it. Some of them are 40 times 4, some are 20 times 4. You have like almost 10 of them in one room, so you can imagine 40 times whatever. That room alone, one panel bulb of 36 watts can replace the whole place. So that is an attempt, and these are pure LED. The whole world is going LEDified.
So energy-saving bulbs?
Not energy-saving bulb, LEDified.
LEDified, okay. I would like us to talk about funding, because I know that one of the challenges facing the government right now is how do we get funds to support this project. How much has been done in that respect?
Well, from the government perspective, sincerely, there is no funding. And I can't see the local banks doing this because they are not used to doing this kind of long-term things. There are a lot of energy funds out there, really, and those are the kind of funds that are coming in. But for us, our own solar plants we're trying to do, we're targeting more private sector because the banks, for example, they are telling us to provide them solar energy over 2 years, 3 years, where they pay monthly like you provide electricity outsourced. So that's self-funded. So that way we can work with the banks directly, to do that. If we get POs from all of them, then we could fund. There is no funding. That is another problem. Most of the people with some of these things are going back to China to partner and joint venture with firms that are already into this. That's about the only way, partnership and equity. Okay. That's about the only way to do this.
Well, we'll talk about renewable energy. One of the things that Nigerians are familiar with is solar, and a number of people are embracing that. How affordable is this, especially for households, for individuals who want to have that installed in their houses?
What we have done over time is to split out. We have the small ones that replaces this better past my neighbor generator. It was assembled in the factory by young kids. Small one, we have up to 500 watts that household can use, again, with LED bulbs. We don't do solar without LED bulbs because that drops your consumption. There are a lot of solutions now. 3 kVA, 10 kVA. We have 50 kVA in the factory, driving ACs and conveyor belts. There is a new one for pumps, water pumps, that we can put separately so that you don't, because some water pumps are 3 phases. So it's advisable they separate that from the main one, because to buy a full 3-phase can be very expensive. So we do single phases and then we separate the pumps. But the final advice is not to put things like microwave still.
Okay.
Because the sun is still not too regular now. And that's the...
And it's the rainy seasons are just beginning to...
And that's the misconception. People think once it's there, it must carry on. Okay. So that is critical because the sun is not enough for this.
I know the issue of providing off-grid and on-grid power solutions. Can you tell us about that in a minute?
The off-grid is the one we've all been talking about. We do on-grid in schools. The schools don't need energy. Like all these ministries that you see in Abuja and all of them, they by 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, they've gone. That's where you need on-grid.
Okay.
So you use as much solar, no battery, and they take as much energy. By evening, it's cut off. So that is, again, another way to conserve and cost saving. And you can even sell part of the energy to others.
Thank you so much, Madam Florence Seriki, CEO OMATEK Ventures, for your time. And we do appreciate your insight. And Nigerians who have listened to you will have to buy more solar power to help conserve energy.